The exchange program had seemed like a good idea 6 months ago. Now, standing at the edge of the Sundarbans research station, with 40 alien students staring at him, Tom wasn't so sure. "Professor Tom," said Vexthal, a Drenari student whose species had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern across his face. "Our simulations indicate this excursion carries a 73% probability of being uneventful. We were told Earth predators were formidable." Tom folded his arms. He was 34, sun-weathered from years of field work, and had long since stopped being surprised by how condescending some of the alien delegations could be about Earth's wildlife. "Formidable is one word for it," he said. Lily, his co-instructor, walked up beside him with a tablet in hand. She was younger than Tom, sharper-tongued, and had exactly 0 patience for smugness, human or alien. "You've got a saying where you're from, don't you, Vexthal?" she asked. "Something about the Osgra being the apex of your homeworld's food chain?" Vexthal's diamond eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of pride among the Drenari. "The Osgra fears nothing. It has hunted our ancestors for 10,000 generations. No creature on any world we have surveyed has posed a credible threat to a fully grown Osgra. We brought a specimen for study. In fact, your Earth predators may study a real apex predator for comparison." That got Tom's attention. "You brought one? Here, to the containment habitat 2 kilometers north, yes. Perfectly safe. The enclosure exceeds Drenari containment standards by a factor of 12. Lily and Tom exchanged a look. They'd both spent enough time around visiting delegations to recognize the shape of an incoming disaster. The Osgra, it turned out, was an enormous thing, 9 feet at the shoulder, built like a cross between a wolf and a war machine, with chitinous plating over its spine and forelimbs ending in retractable blades instead of claws. Tom watched it pace its enclosure on the observation feed, muscles coiling under gray-black hide, and felt a chill that had nothing to do with the monsoon air. "It's beautiful," Lily muttered. "In a please don't let that near my children kind of way." The Drenari delegation had set up their containment habitat on a raised platform near the edge of the reserve, too close to the tree line, in Tom's professional opinion, and he'd said so twice already. Both times he'd been politely informed that Drenari containment technology had never failed in recorded history. Tom had a suspicion that Earth was about to become part of that record. "There's a reason you don't build containment for a novel biome without consulting the locals," he told the delegation's lead engineer, a Drenari named Fezka. "This reserve has an active tiger population. A big one. You're inside their range." Fezka's 4 eyes swept over him with what Tom could only describe as polite disbelief. "Professor, the Osgra is our apex predator. It does not simply have a place at the top of the food chain. It defines the food chain. There is no terrestrial animal capable of threatening it. This is precisely why we selected this specimen for demonstration. Your students will observe true predatory supremacy." "Right," Tom said. "Sure." He caught Lily's eye. She was already smiling the particular smile she wore when she knew something someone else didn't. It happened on the second night. The storm had rolled in fast off the bay, the kind of monsoon squall that turned visibility to soup and swallowed sound whole. Half the alien students had retreated to the dormitory dome to wait it out, chattering about thermal readings and atmospheric density, comparing it, unfavorably, to weather on their home planets. Tom was checking the perimeter sensors with Lily when the first alarm went off. Not from the Osgra enclosure. From the reserve's own tracking network, a tiger, designated T7 in the station's database, a 9-year-old female, known locally as Ronnie, had crossed into the buffer zone near the Drenari platform. "Tom," Lily's voice had gone tight. "The enclosure's range shielding. It's not fully sealed on the east side. Fezka's crew hasn't finished the panel install." Of course they haven't. Tom was already moving, grabbing a rain jacket and a radio. "Get the students inside. All of them. Now." He didn't wait to see if she obeyed. He already knew she would, and knew she'd probably ignore her own advice and follow him anyway. By the time they reached the platform, soaked through and half-blind in the downpour, they could hear it. Not the Osgra's roar, something lower. A rumbling, chuffing growl that vibrated through the wet ground itself. Tom had heard that sound exactly twice in his life. Once from 30 feet away, from a female tiger who decided his research vehicle was a threat to her cubs. Both times, his heart had tried to climb out through his throat. Ronnie had found the gap in the shielding. Through the rain-streaked observation panel, Tom watched 400 pounds of striped Bengal tiger crouched low against the mud, ears flat, tail lashing in slow, deliberate arcs. The Osgra had gone rigid at the far end of its enclosure, blade limbs unsheathed, every plate along its spine raised. 10,000 generations of being the apex predator. And it had never once met something that hunted the way a tiger hunts. Not with brute force, but with patience, silence, and the terrible certainty of an ambush predator that had spent 200,000 years perfecting the art of never being seen until it was too late. "Oh my God," Lily breathed beside him. "It's stalking it." Ka arrived at a dead run, for eyes wide with something Tom recognized instantly as pure panic. "That is a native predator." "How did it?" The readings said perimeter integrity was. "Your panel install wasn't finished," Tom said flatly. "I told you twice." The tiger moved. It wasn't fast in the way Tom expected the alien engineers to imagine speed. It wasn't a straight-line sprint. It was low, coiled, economical, closing the gap in 3 explosive bounds before the Osgra's plated head had even finished turning. 200 million years of predator instinct, condensed into a single motion. The Osgra's blade limb came up a half-second too late. Ronnie hit it low, at the shoulder joint where the chitin plating gave way to softer hide. The same instinctive targeting a tiger used on water buffalo, 3 times its size, striking at weak points a lifetime of hunting had taught it to find without thinking. The alien predator that had never known a natural enemy screamed, a sound like tearing metal, and staggered back into the enclosure wall hard enough to buckle the reinforced paneling. "Sedatives," Tom shouted at Ka, who stood frozen, all 4 eyes locked on the scene. "Now, before one of them dies." That snapped the engineer into motion. Aerosol dispersers along the enclosure's ceiling hissed to life, flooding the space with a fine mist. It took nearly 90 seconds during which Ronnie circled her wounded, staggering opponent with the calm, unbothered patience of an animal that had already won and simply hadn't decided yet whether to finish the job. When the sedatives finally dropped both animals, the silence that followed was almost worse than the fight had been. The next morning, the alien students gathered in a hushed cluster around the medical bay, where the Osgra lay unconscious under a stabilizing field, its shoulder plating cracked open like an eggshell. Vexthal stood very still, all 4 eyes fixed on the wound. It ambushed from cover, in weather conditions that should have degraded any tracking capability and incapacitated an Osgra in under 11 seconds. "She wasn't even trying to kill it," Lily said, arms crossed, doing very little to hide her satisfaction. "Tigers usually finish what they start. Ronnie probably just wanted it out of her territory. Then it was not even attempting a lethal engagement," Vexthal said slowly, as if the words cost him something. "Nope," Tom said. "That's just a Tuesday for a tiger that's annoyed." Ka, still visibly shaken, was already drafting revised containment specifications on his tablet. Tom caught glimpses of numbers that had roughly tripled from the original design. "Professor," Ka said quietly, not looking up, "your world's classification systems. Where does this animal rank among your dangerous predators?" Tom considered the question for a moment, watching Ronnie's tracking collar blip steadily on the monitor, already 3 kilometers back into the deep cover of her home range, utterly unbothered by the chaos she'd left behind. "Honestly," he said, "middle of the pack. We've got worse." 40 alien students went very, very quiet.